Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Jeff Ainsworth, and we're going to go over how to regulate what the students use and what apps they use on their iPads in the Mosyle app, and we'll just also touch base on Apple Classroom too, but mostly focus on what apps can they use in your classroom during instructional purposes. And this is, of course, geared for math since I teach math. So here we go. We're going to go into your main screen here, and you should see the Mosyle School. All right, we do not go into the App Store. All right, you get all your apps through the Mosyle School app here. So I'm going to go click on this, and it should show your classes for this year. And I'm teaching Algebra 1, 2 classes, and then I'm teaching 3 classes of AP Pre-Calc. So what we want to do is go into a class, and so let me go into one of my classes here. Of course, everything's running a little slower when you want to run a video. So come on, here we go. All right, so what I did earlier, and I'll just show you the end result first so you can kind of have an idea. You go into study apps here on the left. There's a left menu here. Notice that I selected 5 different apps that I want my kids to use during class. They need to get their documents in Canvas. That's why I selected that one. They need to use a graphing calculator at times, whether it's Algebra 1 or Pre-Calc. I may take the Google Drive app out because that means they can access the Google Drive and they may not need access, and they may pull just straight from Canvas. So I may take the Google Drive out so they cannot access other documents in their Google Drive, just for security purposes. And then of course we're using OneNote for our note-taking tool, and Mosyle is the app that they get their apps from. So you don't have to worry about Google Guardian, I don't think. And I'll update this video if that's the case later on. So I'm going to test this out and see how it runs. All right, so let's go back to a class where we haven't put all the apps in here. And so this one here, my other algebra class. So you open a class here, and you go on the left, you select the second one that says Study Apps. And of course, there's nothing in there, right? Because you're getting started. So you click on the bottom of the screen, Add Apps, or Add the Applications. And what's default is these native apps, and this is like what's automatically put on the calculator, or the iPad, excuse me. So we don't want that. We want to go to the second one, which is Mosyle Rollout, okay? Unless you teach special ed, you might need that. But just go into the second one where it says Mosyle Rollout here, and what we want to do is add in our main program here, which is OneNote. So I'm going to just start typing that in, and notice that OneNote's there, so I select it. Because that's my note-taking tool that I'm using. There are others like GoodNotes and Notability, but this is the one I'm using. My students also use the Desmos graphing calculator, which includes the scientific function, so you only need the graphing one. So there you go, second, Mosyle Rollout. It pull up the right apps. You have to click that every single time for some reason. It doesn't stay in that section right there, so get out of the native and go to Mosyle Rollout Apps, and I need Desmos, so just start typing the word and it should pop up. There we go. I have 2 choices. I want the graphing calculator because it's scientific and graphing a calculator all in one. So you check it, click on the checkbox, and it will allow the students to use the graphing calculator. If you don't want them to use a graphing calculator, obviously you would exit out, delete it, and then you can always bring it back in again, depending on the lesson of the day. That's up to your discretion as a teacher. Okay, we need to add the Mosyle app itself so this is where they get their apps. So it takes a while to get things going because I'm not directly connected to the internet here. I'm using the hub, and I'm not hardwired in, so it usually takes a little bit longer. Okay, so there's Mosyle School. Okay. So now I have that. I need the Google Drive. I'm going to put the Google Drive in. And again, if you don't want them to have access to that, well, then you just don't put it in there. So that's totally up to you. I'm hoping that putting the Canvas app in, and just the Canvas app, will allow the students to get their files from the Google Drive, but they have to be signed in to the Google Drive, which means they have to have the app. So initially you need to put it in there to get the Google Drive app so they can sign in, so they have access to all your apps in Canvas, your documents in Canvas. And then later on, like I said, you can take out the Mosyle School and you can take out the Google Drive. This is just the initial setup. So I'm going to go to the second one, Mosyle rollout. I'm going to put Canvas in there, Canvas student, not teacher, because this is where they submit their work, and this is also where they get their files, okay, from you. So just type in the first few letters of the word and it should pop up right there. So select student. Okay, and there's only one more that we need to get them, because they need to get the Google Drive initially so they can sign into it and so they can get all your files that they have access to on your Canvas page, which is usually put in through the Google or from the Google Drive. Not always. Some people use Dropbox, and if that's the case, they may have to use it. I'm not sure, because I don't use Dropbox. But I'm going to go back in, and I'm going to go to the second one, Mosyle rollout, and I'm going to find the Google Drive. So you start typing it in. You don't want them to have access to Google Chrome, because that's the internet. So do not put that in there. They could do that some other time. So if they can, you can initially allow them to use the Google Chrome to do research and whatnot, but then you want to take it out during instruction, because you don't want to have them access to the internet. That would be a definite no-no. Okay, so this is just the initial setup phase. So if you want to add in more apps just for the initial setup and then delete them later on, you have that opportunity. But I'm just showing you how it's done. And then what you have to do is you do that for each class. So I'm going to go back to my main page right through here, and then I have to do that for each one of my classes. And that's the initial setup. And then to see what they're doing on their iPads, you go to Apple Classroom, which is the orange icon here. It says Classroom. And notice that my classes are already preloaded in there. And if I want to see what's going on their iPads when they are in class, and only in class, I can use this feature here. And I am not in class right now. My students are not in front of me, so they're offline. This, I think, uses Bluetooth, so you can only see what's going on their iPads when they're in class within a short distance from you, like in the classroom. And then you can see what's on their iPads. This only applies to the school iPads, not their personal ones. So if you want to view what they're doing, you have to set a standard for their own, to use a school device. But that's up to you, especially during testing. So testing should always be using school devices so you can monitor them and make sure they're doing the right thing, okay? And that's just the basics. So check it out, and let's work together as a team of teachers to figure all this new technology out. It's gonna be fun. All right, I'm Ainsworth. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.